Hi friends, it's Julie Golding Page here along the tidal Scudig or St. Croix River, the traditional territory of the Passamaquoddy, and I'm grateful that they share this beautiful place with us. And today we call it St. Stephen, New Brunswick, right across the river from Calais, Maine, USA. So hello to both Canadian and American friends who might be watching today. Today I have a project that I'd like to show you, which is a fairly simple card using Stampin' Blend markers and the beautiful Citrus Blends bundle. And there's also Mediterranean blooms. Maybe I said Citrus Blends. I meant to say Citrus Blooms anyway. And the suite is called, as well as the paper, is called Mediterranean Blooms. And it is just gorgeous. I think you're going to like it. So let's get right to our project. All right, so here is the beautiful Citrus Blooms stamp set. So it's got these lovely oranges, or you could turn them into grapefruit as well. Maybe there's some other fruits that you can think of that they would also suit. And then there's some nice sentiments here, like hello, all the love, you're the best kind of person, and just checking in. It's also got these little flowers. And then it's got this nice little pattern too, which you'll kind of see some of in the Mediterranean Blooms paper as well. So here are the dies. So the large dies cut out the images of the oranges. And then you've got some leaves you can cut out. You can cut out around the flowers. And then there's these teeny tiny flowers you can cut out as well. So there's all kinds of fun stuff with this set. Oh yes, and I should show you these dies as well. These also come in the set. And I don't have these on a card today, but spoiler alert, later this week, I'm going to make a card that uses this background. Okay, so you'll be able to see these dies. All right, so let's have a look at what's in our packet today. And I'd love to hear where you're watching from today and whether you've tried this set, because I think it's really pretty. It's from the annual catalog, and it's been out for a few months now, since May, and I think it's just gorgeous. I think you're going to like the paper too. So I just opened this little note card. This is from the note cards and envelopes that you can get. They're already pre-made for you. And they're slightly smaller than our standard size cards. So just know that when you get them. I think they're 5 by 7. Let's just measure them up on my board here. Yes, 5 by 7 is correct. That is the dimension of this particular card. Here are all the little pieces. I've got them all pre-cut. And I'll tell you how I did those as we go. But if you ever want to take a class from me online, anyone across Canada can take a class. You will get packages that look very similar to this. In fact, this card was from a recent class I did featuring the Citrus Blooms stamp set, and you didn't actually have to have the dies. I usually structure my classes so all you need is the stamp set and not the dies. And I also have people that don't buy either one, that they just like to come to the class and they use a stamp set they've already got at home. So that's also a possibility. It's all up to you. So let's go ahead and we will start with our stamping here. So the first thing I want to do is take one of these little chevron shaped labels, and I want to stamp on that. So this is Daffodil Delight. That's the color of the cardstock. And I used the Stylish Shapes dies to cut out this little label. Same thing goes for this one. This one is made from the In Color Glimmer paper. So this one is in Peach Pie, which is a really nice color that's kind of between this yellow and the pumpkin pie of the oranges. So I like that because it kind of ties the two colors together. If you buy this particular paper, you also get 4 other colors of this super glittery stuff. And I love it because then you don't have to have a glitter storm in your house. It's all on the paper. I don't think I see any coming off on me. Nope. It's all stuck right into the paper for you, and I like that better than getting glitter separately for sure. I also cut out this circle. This is also from the Stylish Shapes dies, and you'll see what we're going to do with that just a little bit later. So I'm going to use the Hello stamp here. So let's dig that out, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp that. Let me see. I think I'd like to stamp it in this green. This is a really pretty green. It is called Garden Green. So I'm just going to grab my Garden Green stamp pad. I'm just making that up right now. I think it'd be fun to change the color from the class. So let me see. Just looking for my stamp pad here. Okay, got it. Excellent, there it is. So this is garden green. You could use black, you could use whatever color you'd like. Any dark green would look really nice. And I'm just going to try it out here. So if you're new to stamping, you probably could hear me tapping that. So I was tapping firmly but quite lightly, and that means that I don't get all the ink stuck all over my stamp or all over my block. If you put too much ink on, I think you'll be disappointed with the results. And this ink pad is new, so it is quite juicy, and it made a very nice image right away without pressing down at all into the ink pad. So I'm just tapping lightly to make sure it's coated, which you can see it is. And now I'm going to go ahead and stamp on my Daffodil Delight die cut here, which I made with my little die cut machine. And let's see how we did. Oh yeah, that looks very nice. Look at that. Okay, so now we have our greeting done. So I'm going to just clean that up and put that back in my stamp set right away. I like to keep my rubber stamps like this with the border around them because then I can see what's missing. Otherwise, I don't know if I'm missing a stamp or not, and I really like to see that. So maybe you can let me know too, what did you do on the weekend? Saturday was the fall fair here, so my daughter was volunteering at that, so that kind of took up Saturday, and that's good. And then on Sunday, my husband and I are both Anglican priests, and so we were leading a couple of services in the area, and that kind of took up Sunday, so I spent the afternoon just kind of relaxing after that. So we had a nice weekend, a little bit low-key, but busy enough, and lots of things to do right here at home. Oops, looks like I got a glue dot stuck to my desk there. All right, I'm just going to remove that so I don't stick my project in it somehow. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to stamp this image here. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to take that out. And I will need a larger block. Well, it might work on here. This is just a block you get for one of the kits. It comes right in the kit. And so I think I can probably just use that. I think that'll work. All right, let's give it a go anyways. We'll try it out on our cardboard here just to give it a try first. I always like to give my things a try because you just don't know how they're going to work. Maybe your ink pad has dried out a little since the last time you used it. Or maybe it was stored a little crooked and got a little juicier than you meant it to be. So I like to always try out my stamps first before I actually do anything on the project. There, you can see I really went at that to make sure that it has lots of ink on it, because the Tuxedo Black ink, which is what I'm using right now, if I didn't say that before, it tends to stamp a little bit light and a little bit gray if you don't really coat it up well. So I make sure that I give it a really good coating before I press it down. And look at that, that worked really well. Okay, so let's try this next one for real. So I'm gonna go ahead and put all my ink on here. And we'll hope that this one does really well. And what I'm going to do, because this image is bigger than the circle, is I'm going to stamp off the edges. So I want to arrange it so that most of the flower is on, all of the fruit is on the circle, and then the foliage can just go off the side, and that's okay. And then I'm going to hold it down for several seconds just to have time for that ink to transfer. All right, let's see how we did with that. Okay, yeah, so that looks pretty cool. It's amazing what a difference it can make to just stamp off the edges of your shape. It somehow looks more elegant and finished, even though you don't have the entire image there. So it's kind of interesting because it might not be the first thing we would think to do, but it tends to work the best. All right, so I'm going to just clean this up on my chamois. So this chamois is just a special material you get from Stampin' Up. It doesn't cost very much. and you just wet it down with water. And so I'm just cleaning my stamps with water today. That's it. I don't really like using many chemicals, and so I prefer to do it that way with just water. All right, so that is the end of what we need to do to stamp. So the next thing I'm going to do is color. So I have my Stampin Blends markers here, and these are alcohol markers. I really like alcohol markers. I have my 2 light and dark in Daffodil Delight, my 2 in Pumpkin Pie, light and dark, and my 2 in Old Olive, light and dark. All right, so let's see what we're going to do here. So this one is light pumpkin pie. So I'm going to start not by using this fine tip, but I'm going to use the brush tip. So here we go. And I'm just going to color very quickly this orange. So we're not going to do anything special here. We're just going to color. And if you haven't tried the alcohol markers before, the big strength that they have is that you can get rid of these little lines that you leave with your markers. You know, like in school, if you colored in something, you get all these lines in the middle of your image, especially if your image was very big. And alcohol markers don't do that because you can color over the same place over and over, like you see me doing with little circles there. And it doesn't pill the paper because they're made with alcohol instead of water. So they make for a very smooth image when you're done. So let me just show you. See, isn't that nice? All right, so we've got light pumpkin pie first. That's what I did first. And now we're going to dig out the dark pumpkin pie. So that's this one. And instead of the brush tip, we're going to use the fine tip this time. So here we go with the fine tip. What we're going to do is just make little dots where you see those black dots in the fruit. See all those little black dots? So we're going to darken those with just little dots of the marker. So you don't have to be precise. If you miss a few or get a few too many, it really doesn't matter. It's going to be the overall cumulative effect of this. So this is where anybody who likes to have everything all in order all the time might find it a little bit tough for a few minutes. But what I do is ask you to trust the process because it's going to turn out. Okay, so if you're a type A personality and you just like to know where everything's going and you want it all kind of in a box, it will work out. I'm just asking for your trust at this point. So I hope I can do that. Okay, so we're going to do that first. All right, now we're going to close the fine tip and we're going to open the brush tip. And what we're going to do with the brush tip is we're just going to add a little brush of color where we had those little dots, okay? Just to give it a little bit of definition and not worry about it too much, but we're going to just kind of add a bit of shading here. Kind of connects these dots together a little bit now that we know where they are. And you're going to think, this is crazy. What is she doing? Because it looks weird, right? This does not look like what you want your fruit to look like, right? That is not what you want. However, we're not done yet. So that's the dark. And now we're going to close up our dark pumpkin pie marker. And we're going to go back to our light one. So this is light pumpkin pie, and we're going to go to that one again. So here's what we're going to do. So we are going to, in little circle motions, so little circular motions, we're going to make little circles around all the edges of where we added this dark stuff. Okay, and that's going to make it so that it's not so stark like it is right now. And then we're going to brush in one more quick coat of light color over the entire fruit to bring out that really nice kind of blended look. This is a super simple way to do blending. I've taken some complicated coloring classes, but honestly, I don't think I have the patience for that particular thing. And so I've tried to glean from those classes kind of easy ways to get a nice, elegant finish on things because I don't want to color all day. If you're somebody that does want to color in detail for a long time, that's great. Please go for it. You can do beautiful things. But that's not really my style, and so I like to do it simply, but with a little bit of an elegant finish on the end. So, so this is what we've got so far. All simple. Anybody can do this. So now we're just going to make these little circles here. All right, around the edges. Just little circles so that we don't have big lines all over the fruit. And let's see if we can get this to look like something better. All right, so that's what I've got so far. So I took away that stark edge that you might have seen before. And now I'm just going to brush in some color on that light part to kind of blend it in a little bit more, okay? But I just want to be really quick about that. I don't want to add too much more color, or else the whole thing will be the same color. And I want to have some darker parts, right? So let's see how it looks now. See, now that looks much more realistic, doesn't it? And it will change even more. It's still not quite in its final form yet because we just colored it. But as it dries thoroughly, it will dry even more than that. And you'll see that it'll have an even nicer result when we're finished. Okay? All right, so we've got that done. Let's go ahead for the leaves now. The leaves are simple too. So they're even simpler actually. This is light old olive. I'm going to use the brush tip and I'm just going to color all the leaves really quickly. So nothing complicated at all for that. I'm going to leave the stems for now. We're going to do them in a different color. If you want to do the stems in this color, that's fine too though. You do you. It's all going to come together and it'll be beautiful no matter what. So feel free to change anything up. I like that with card making, everything is just a suggestion really, because it's about creativity and having fun, right? And also about thinking of others the whole time. That's one of the reasons I really like card making, because it's about giving back to other people. And you can always give your cards away. And I think that's a really, really nice thing to do. It seems like with all the impatience in the world after the pandemic and all kinds of other frustrations people have these days about the economy and so on, a kind word goes a long way. So I think it's more important than ever to kind of say a kind word or give a kind word in a card. People also don't get much mail except for bills and parcels anymore. So it's a really unique thing, I think, when you get something in the mail from someone. Or a letter. I like to write letters, actually. I'm kind of a dinosaur that way. I have pen pals, and I really love writing letters. And I just love getting a letter in the mail. I just think it's so special. All right, so that's it for Old Olive Light. Now we've got one more thing for the leaves, and this is dark old olive. So we're going to use the fine tip this time. So you might be able to guess where we're going with this. We're going to just outline our kind of lines here. So nothing fancy, just super easy, simple. And I'm just doing it quickly. All I'm trying to do is kind of trace the lines. That is it. You don't have to be very precise about it. You don't even have to get the entire line. As long as you get part of it to kind of make it look like you did something there. It really doesn't matter. There we go. And it's just this one here. All right, and then the stems. So these are the blossoms down here. So I'm just going to color the stem in that green. Same goes for that one. And we got some stems over here. All right, trying to not get that into the flower. These are very small pieces to color. Okay, so I will show you how that looks now. So very simple, nothing complicated at all so far. Anybody could do this. And you can see the orange is coming together now. As it dries more thoroughly and the alcohol evaporates completely, it's just looking really good now. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is use Light Daffodil Delight. And I'm going to use the brush tip. And I'm just going to very quickly color in these flowers. And you don't even have to color the whole petal. In fact, it's probably even nicer if you don't. It'll look more nuanced and real if you just kind of brush in a little color and leave some of it white. So I'll show you what I did. That was so simple and fast. See how I left just a little bit of white here and there, and it'll fill in really nicely. All right, now I've got Daffodil Delight Dark. I'm going to use the fine tip this time, and just like before, I'm just going to trace over these lines. And this time I'm maybe going over them twice because I want this to really stand out against the other yellow. All right, and then I'm going to color the lines in these buds, and it really helps those buds, I think, to have this little bit in there. And then I'm just going to color repeatedly in the center to make that nice and dark. Again, because it's alcohol markers, you can go over and over and over and over the same place. There will not be any pilling because the technology is alcohol-based instead of water. Water is what pills the paper. Alcohol will not do that because it evaporates. All right, so let's see what we've got. That's it for our markers, so move them aside. Now look at that. So just a few minutes, no complicated techniques, just kind of highlighting or shadowing a slight bit here and there, and we've got a nice, elegant looking fruit. So I hope that that's helpful to you. All right, so that's what we've got there. Now it's just left to put the card together. So let's take our note card here, and we are going to use our bone folder. All right, to make it a crisp fold there. Now let's see. I'm going to take my rectangle of garden green, and I'm going to put this decorative paper on it. Now let me show you the decorative papers. They are called Mediterranean blooms that match citrus blooms. Look at the beautiful paper. I just love this paper. I can't get enough of it, actually. It's so pretty. It's really gorgeous. Look at that with the lemons. I don't know. There's something about citrus fruits that are just so appealing. I'm not sure what it is, but I just love the colors. They're so bright and cheerful, maybe. So beautiful, beautiful different things here. So that's one side of the paper only. And then here's the rest of the Mediterranean side. So these are almost kind of a Spanish sort of print that have kind of an Arabic influence, and beautiful stuff. It reminds me of our trip to Spain when we went for a 10th anniversary. We went to see Granada and the Alhambra, and they had so many patterns that looked kind of like this. Just beautiful, beautiful place. So that's the other side. So you can have these wonderful greens and yellows and oranges and mix them with these beautiful blues as well to get that really Mediterranean effect. So we've got a choice then for our little rectangle, the blue or the oranges. So the blue would look just fine, but I think I want those oranges because they're so pretty. So let's see. Okay. So I'd love to know what you think of this card and the coloring technique as well, to see if that's helpful to you. I don't know. Maybe it's too simple for you. Maybe you do more complicated stuff than I do. I just love these simple techniques so that I can do things fairly quickly and without too much fuss. And it's much easier to share with others as well if they're kind of less complicated. But that might be just me, so I'd love to hear what you think. All right, let's see what we got here. And if you're interested in any of the supplies you see here today, I will try to blog this tomorrow with the supply list included. But if you have any questions, just let me know, and I'd be happy to help you out in finding those supplies if you need to. If you're interested in taking a class or joining my team or anything else to do with my business, I'd love to hear from you as well. I just find this hobby so much fun. I've been making cards most of my life, and I just think it's really, really great. All right, so let's just offset these slightly so that we give them a little elegant touch there. And suddenly my glue dots have disappeared. Let me just see. Maybe they got taken away to the other desk. Let me just see. Okay, here we go. Yes, they decided to take a little vacation, but I've convinced them to come back. Here we go. And I'm just putting a couple of little glue dots there on the top of that because I want it to be offset kind of like that. And that's what I did. Okay. And then I'm just going to arrange these sort of how I want them to be on the card. Kind of like that, maybe. Yeah. And then what I'm going to do is just attach them there. So I'm going to put a glue dot right there, and then I'll arrange it so that it's just exactly where I need it. And let's see if that's sort of straight. Let's put it on our grid. I don't usually measure in the middle of making my cards, except I do line them up kind of on my grid here. This is the glass mat, by the way, that you can get from Stampin Up, and it came while I was away over the summer, and I'm really enjoying it now. I'm finding it so nice to use. It's very, very helpful. All right, so we've got those attached together. Now I'm going to use some dimensionals, and then I'm going to stick them all on together. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. That should stick it down very nicely. All right, and let's put that on the card. Okay. All right, and then we just need a few embellishments. So I used opal rounds for my card that I made earlier, and that's all I have left of the opal rounds, but they're really nice because you have these navy ones, kind of a light yellow, and you have some clear ones as well. So for this card, I'm going to use the yellow because I think that will look really nice. Let me see. I think I'll use maybe a large one up here. If I can pick them up off the desk. There we go. So maybe a large one up there. And a small one down here. And then I want one more large one. And I'll pick this up so you can see it. All right, so there's what I have for my final card. So just a bit of coloring and shading, and the rest is really, really simple. And that's the end of my card demo for today. So thank you very much for joining me today. If you're interested in any of the supplies that you see here or my classes, this is a card that I made in a recent class, or my team or anything else that I do, all my card designs as well, because I blog my cards and my demos, please hop over to my website, which is juliescraftattic.com. If you can't find any of these things or would just like to chat, let me know, and I'd love to hear from you. So have a wonderfully crafty evening, and I'll see you again on Wednesday. Bye for now.